Everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker. And I want to give you guys a question that I get asked a lot. And the question is that should I be buying a condo or should I buy a house, a freehold property? I'm going to break this down with you guys, and I want to give you guys the information first, and then we'll come to the conclusion, I think, together on this, okay? So the way I look at this is like, even though where we are right now in our market, it's not a very exciting market to be in, and there's a lot of fear around what is going on right now. It's kind of hard to kind of navigate this and try to say, hey, like I'm trying to look for the bigger picture 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road when we're so consumed with kind of what's happening right now. But if we can kind of look over all of this and say, hey, in 10 years, things are going to be different. In 5 years, things are going to be different. And the proof of that is when we look at the market crashes that have happened in the past, like 95 years of market up and downs or whatever. I believe the number was somewhere around like 70 or 74 years out of 95 of those years was actually in an up market. So the point I'm trying to make is that I'm not sure how long this market is going to stay stagnant or go down, but at some point, statistics tell us, history tells us that we're going to come out of this thing. So I base my information on that, okay? Just basically what's happened and what I think is going to happen. And my belief is that, and based on information, real stats of what's happening right now is that when we look at building in Ontario, new housing starts, when we look at those, we're looking at 70 to 80% of those, they're being condos. And when we look at freehold, and I'm talking detached, townhomes, semi-detaches, things like that, we're looking at only 20 to 30% of new home starts being like that. There's a big reason. One of the reasons, obviously, is affordability. More people can probably afford a condo than they can a freehold property. The other thing also is that land is not just readily available. So we are going to, at some point, run out of land. And I think that's why, especially around the major hubs, we're seeing a lot more building upwards right now. Even if we look at a place like Pickering, okay? Pickering is starting to have so many applications, and all of the plazas that you look at on Kingston Road, basically from Altona right to Brock Road, I bet you if you go back and look at it, most of these plazas have already been sold to developers, and they're just kind of holding on to it until the time is right for them to be able to develop, okay? I think the last number I heard was 70, 75 building permits for huge condo buildings coming up, and not so much for the low density stuff. So I just feel like there's going to be a lot more inventory of the condo stuff versus the freehold, townhomes, detached, semi-detaches that's going to be available in the future. It's already like that right now, but I think that is going to intensify based on the building stats that we see right now. So coming back to that question, should I buy a condo or should I buy freehold? I would say this, I bought my first property more than 20 years ago, and all I could afford was a condo. So I started with a condo, but had a dedicated plan of like, hey, how am I going to actually get to a freehold property? Because that was my goal. I understand that not everyone has that goal, but that was my goal. So if your goal is similar to say, hey, at some point I want to own a detached property, maybe this is the route I would take. At this point right now, if it's just going to be a condo that you can afford, I would say, hey, at least jump into that market, feel it out, go with it, and try to build up some equity, be smart, and try to pay down your mortgage. But at the same time, if you have the ability to get into a freehold property, I would say do your math and see if you can actually push yourself into that freehold property. Because I think the freehold property in the long term is actually going to yield you a higher appreciation than the condo will. And here's some of the kind of numbers I want to throw around with you guys right now. If we look at an example of saying, hey, you're going to go and purchase a condo for $650,000, and that condo has a maintenance fee of about $650 per month. The thing is that you could basically take that $650 condo fee, because that's going to affect how much mortgage you can actually qualify for, because that's a fixed expense. So you could basically take that and say, hey, that equals around $160,000 more in buying power in a mortgage. So instead of a $650 purchase price, you could be looking at an $810,000 freehold purchase price. So we have to keep that in mind. So is there a $650,000 condo that you like, but is there something comparable that we could get that's freehold for like around $810,000? That might be a better bet. Maybe that 810 is going to be more of a stretch and harder, but I would say that if you have that mindset that, hey, this is going to evolve into something else, that might be a better bet for you. The other thing also is the condo fee. So the condo fee right now at this particular unit that we're talking about is $650, and that condo fee can go up. hopefully, if that building is managed correctly, it's only going to go up at the rate of inflation. They're going to be carrying a decent reserve fund over there, and then they have the money to do capital expenditures. But guess what? To a certain point, that's out of your control. If something happens to that building, you're not just responsible for your unit, you're actually responsible for the entire condominium corporation. Now, we've heard stories of things happening, like the maintenance fee gets escalated so high that it depreciates the unit value at the same time, and that's not really in your control. Just heard a story about someone's maintenance fee basically doubling, and basically it's dropped the value down and nobody actually wants to come out and buy this unit anymore. The other thing that could happen is that if a building is not managed correctly, you can actually be levied something called a special assessment. That means that, say for example, they don't have enough money in a reserve fund and you guys need new elevators or an HVAC system or something else like that. They don't have enough money to do it. What they will do is they'll go to a bank, maybe RBC, and they'll basically say, hey, we need a loan for $500,000 to do X, Y, and Z. And what they do is they take that loan and they split it amongst everybody that owns a unit in that condo corporation until that loan is actually paid off. Fine, you'll be like, okay, fine, it's gonna go away at some point. But the problem with that also is that not only that you're paying out of pocket for these things at that time, but if you were planning on selling your unit, the bank will know through a status certificate that you actually had a special assessment levied against you. And basically the top 5-6 lenders in Canada probably won't even lend to you just based on the fact of you having a special assessment levied against that building. So it could become a very tricky thing. At least with freehold, you can actually, if you have the opportunity to try to create a basement unit, you could change the colors to whatever you want. You actually have control over that property. So long story short, I would say that, hey, I would look at your options. If you have the ability to somehow squeeze yourself into a freehold property, I would probably try to go that route. But if you don't have that opportunity and you just want to kind of get into the market, I would say it's better than doing nothing. Get into a condo, but if you do get into the condo, make sure your lawyer and you scrutinize that status certificate to the max. Make sure that this building has a history of being well maintained and they have a strong reserve fund. And look at all the capital expenditures that actually need to go into that building and make sure that the reserve fund can actually support that. Also look at the dates. When was the last certified audit done of that building? Also, when was the last reserve fund study done of that building? So there are things that you have to do over here to make sure that you are actually buying into a corporation that is stable. It's just like making an investment. You weren't probably not going to buy stocks. Like I made a stupid mistake, bought NEO because I was hyped up about it. Bad idea. I should have probably looked into a couple of things and it didn't work out well for me in that one. I know Chris is laughing at me right now, but you know, this is the same kind of thing. Like you want to do your due diligence and make sure that the building actually has a history of being able to keep within the budget and are increasing or managing the reserve fund as necessary so no one has a huge out-of-pocket expense overall. So if you're considering freehold versus condo, you can also think about it this way. Think about it as trading cards. So not all the trading cards are going to hold the most amount of value. Some of them are more rare trading cards. So over a longer period of time, that is actually going to hold more value. I like to even look at it in terms of cars. Like if you guys have been watching me, you guys know I like Lamborghinis, and one day I want to actually buy one of these things. So I was talking to a friend of mine that owns one or two or something like that. I was looking at a Lamborghini Huracan just online, pricing them out and whatnot, and they're, you know, $250,000, $230,000, very expensive vehicles. But he's trying to tell me, hey, don't get just that Lamborghini Huracan. He's like, you should save up and be in a position where you can actually get a Lamborghini Huracan Performante. It's a different build, a different type of build of this vehicle, because that vehicle, when we look at the history, has less chances of actually depreciating. In fact, it probably will appreciate, if anything. So it's the same thing when I look at condos versus freehold properties. What has a chance of having a higher appreciation and holding on to its value more? So even when I look at these cars, like even if you do a simple search like I do all the time on Auto Trader, you will see when you go into look at Lamborghini Huracans, you will see there's a bunch of them available. I think like maybe 30 or 40 of them that are available throughout Canada. But when you narrow that search down to just a Performante, I think that there's only like 12 of them, 6 or 12 of them that are available for sale. I think that's what we're going to see with the housing market at the same time. So when you go to look at condos, you're going to see the 40 of those condos available for sale. But when you go look at those freehold properties, you're only going to see like 6 of them for sale, and they're probably going to hold a higher value. And even when we look at the date from when they were purchased to where they sit right now, they probably have a higher value overall. Hope you guys found this useful. If you guys have any questions, or if you're contemplating, hey, I want to get into the market, but I'm really weighing these two options out, or if I've scared the heck out of you about talking about status certificates and condo corporations, feel free to book an appointment with me and I'll be happy to get on a quick phone call with you, 15-20 minutes, and I can give you my opinion about what your specific situation is, because at the end of the day, real estate is very specific to a person. Something that appeals to somebody may not appeal to the rest of the market. So if you want some tailored advice to what your specific situation is, I'd be more than happy to give you guys 15-20 minutes of my time and we'll go over that. I hope that you guys like this video, so please go ahead, like it, subscribe. We have amazing content, and share this with a friend. I really appreciate that. Until next time, guys, remember one thing: get Kabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.